Hi everyone, and welcome to the Life with Goldie podcast, where we go around the world interviewing all the Golden Hoodie recipients and diving into their journeys in the ecosystem as trailblazers. I'm your host, Mia Pacey, also a Golden Hoodie recipient, but I'm joined today with Bec Aichholzer. Welcome to the Life with Goldie podcast, Bec. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mia.
So you've been in the ecosystem for some time now. I know that you've done such amazing things within your own company, but can you take us through a bit of how Salesforce even came into your life? How did you become a trailblazer?
Yeah, for sure. So I have been I've been in the ecosystem about 7 years, but I've been using Salesforce for about 8 years, and maybe even over that, a little bit over that now. And so Salesforce first came into my life. We were looking, I worked in a sales role. I was a national sales manager, and we were using a very poor platform to do all of our sales transactions, and basically found Salesforce, said to the company, this is the product that I want to use, and they went, that's cool, you can use it, but we don't have anyone to help you, so you're going to have to do it all yourself. So I struggled with that for about a year, and then I found the community, the Salesforce community in Brisbane, and I first started going to Women in Tech meetings in Brisbane, and at the time it was run by Emily Hay and Marcel, and I went to a few sessions there, and then Marcel had to leave because she decided to go and live overseas, and I joined as a co-leader with Emily McCowan, she now is, but Emily Hay at the time. And Em and I led the Women in Tech group for a couple of years, and then I've transitioned in the last 2 years, I think at the start of the pandemic or maybe the start of last year, it's all a blur now, into being the Brisbane co-leader with Vicky and Tim and now Preena. So the four of us lead the Brisbane group. But for me, the way that I joined the ecosystem was, I just didn't know that there actually was an ecosystem. And I started, someone said to me, there's this Women in Tech meeting for Salesforce, you should go along to it. And I thought, oh my God, maybe I can go along and just ask some questions, because I have no idea what I'm doing a lot of the time with the platform. I, Googled everything to find out answers, and then to find.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I know, right? Still do. But it was just
proficient
awesome.
at Googling.
Oh, mate, you've got no idea. I'm amazing at it. And so I went along and I started asking questions, and then they said, I sort of started talking about this thing that I'd done on my platform, and they were like, you should talk about that, you should tell everyone about it. I went, okay. So then I told some people about it. Like, I actually did a presentation at the Women in Tech group, and that gave me a bit more courage. Then I think World Tour in Melbourne came up, so it was very strange. World Tour in Melbourne, I went along to that, and I did a presentation about being a trailblazing woman in technology in 2017, and I just sort of got myself out there in the community a little bit, talking about things that I thought, well, if this is something that I feel like I need to know, then I need to share this with others, because maybe they feel the same way. Then that's kind of how I got involved with the community and giving back.
It's definitely somewhere we would like, what do you mean you want to hear my story? Or what do you mean I have something important to share?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was when you started sharing, I guess, aspects of what you've built in community groups? You were like, why would you want to hear about this? Was that weird?
Yeah, 100%, because I'm not traditionally trained, in IT or anything like that, which I think a lot of people in the Salesforce ecosystem can really relate to that, right? I've done little bits of tech in the past, so I wasn't too afraid of databases. I'd used Access, and I'd built out some FoxPro database and stuff like that years ago, like 15, 18 years ago. And I kind of stepped out of the tech world, but I always had that interest. I could understand technology. And so then when I came into doing Salesforce and being the solo admin for our instance, it was really nice to be able to get in there and do some stuff, build out things in Salesforce, learn on Trailhead to understand what I was actually doing, and then be able to share that with others and have them go, oh yeah, I was struggling with that thing, and you've just made it easier for me to understand. And also just to share that exact story that I just said to you then, that I'm not from a technology background. Don't be afraid if you're not from a technology background, because you can achieve as well. You can do well and, build your career in Salesforce too.
It is so easy to obtain kind of success in aspects that you're good at. So if you strive in training, or if you strive in like figuring things out, which I feel like that's where you sit, are you really good at figuring things out?
Yeah.
Proficient in Googling, as we said, comes up a lot.
Yes, a lot.
I feel like we should all just put that on our resume. Really
when you
good
said
at
it,
finding solutions.
I know, when you said it, I was like, oh, maybe I could put that in a creative way on my resume.
Yeah. Skills or like underlying hobbies.
It's a hobby too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, what can I find? No, it's definitely something. And I understand, like, you telling a story of how you came into the ecosystem. And I think that's definitely something that they ask for when we do, when you are presented the Golden Hoodie. It is such an inspirational journey. And a lot of people would, I guess, relate to that. But can you take us through how it actually felt up on stage? Was it in stage with audience? Yeah. What was it like to actually get that Golden Hoodie?
Yeah, absolutely. It was surreal, and I think you could understand and relate to that as well. And I think all of the Goldies really can relate to that. As I said, I'd sort of created a little bit of a presence for myself in the community. Megan Peterson would often sort of put a call out and say, hey, can anyone do this? And I was the first person to put my hand up. Of course, I love talking. I feel like everyone knows that I love talking as well. If it's talking about me, that's great. If it's talking about a platform I love, that's also great. And so when Megan sort of contacted me and said, oh, we want to do this video with you. World Tour is coming up. We know you've done some great stuff in the community. We'd like to do this video. Now, I wasn't thinking about Golden Hoodies at all because Mark Tossell had been given his Golden Hoodie the year before, and I was like, that's amazing. He's an awesome dude. He's, done all this wonderful stuff and very intelligent. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. But I didn't think anything about me, having a Golden Hoodie. But they said, what we're going to do is we're going to film Mark as well. And it's going to be these two, parts. You talking about your journey, Mark talking about his. We're just going to put in a video and show it at World Tour. I was like, sure, that's cool, I'll do that. So had 2 days of videoing, like 2 days of filming, at my house, at my gym, because I'm a power lifter and a strong woman. And so we went to my gym and we filmed me doing weights, and we were in my home just, sitting in my kitchen talking. And then we went into my workplace and there was people from my work that were also in the filming as well. And I was like, this is so weird. And then they took me down to the Kangaroo Point Cliffs in Brisbane, which is a beautiful feature on our river, and they did this drone footage. And I was like, I felt like an absolute movie star. It was so funny. And I was like, well, it doesn't hurt for me to be, rubbing shoulders in film with Mark Tossell. That's great. Gets my profile up a little bit more, which sounds a bit weird, but I think it's important if you've got something to share, that you do want to increase your profile in the community, because you want people to know that there's a face and a voice that they can trust. And so that's why, for me, it's important to make sure that people knew that I was there and that I'd gone through the same sort of stuff they had. I'd had the imposter syndrome. I still get it a lot of the time, but I think that's not everyone has the voice to be able to get their profile out. Right? They can share stuff, but if people know who I am, then they can come to me and they can ask me, what should I do when? And I can go over there and do that. Anyway, so when it got to World Tour, they said, oh, you're going to sit up the front because we're showing your video on the screen. This was World Tour 2018. And I'm sitting in the front row.
I got goosebumps. I was like thinking about, like, as you're leading me up to this, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen?
So I was sitting in the front row and I was like, this is cool, sitting next to the big cloud, area where they talked, and looking around, looking at all of these people. And there was, a few thousand people in the room because this was pre-COVID and everyone could be hanging out with each other in one room. And then the packet came on and they said, oh, we're just going to interview you after it for like just 3 questions, which I was like, okay, I'll do my best.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Sure. Anyways, they showed that and I was sitting there and I actually had a couple of friends around me. I had Emily sitting with me. I had Vicky Jeffrey and I also had Emily Falk, who was previous Sydney Women in Tech leader as well. So they were sort of sitting around me and they were like nudging me going, do you think you're going to get the gold hoodie? And I'm like, shut up, guys. I'm watching all of this, stuff that they've put together for me on the screen. It got me up, and then they asked me a couple of questions. Can't even remember what the questions were. I was so nervous because I was speaking in front of a couple of thousand people, and I knew that it was being beamed around the world. I was like, I don't know what they asked me, some things, and then they they bought the golden hoodie up. I can't even remember if it was Megan. I'm sure it was Megan that bought the hoodie up, and then they gave me the hoodie, and I just stood there and I was like, it was such a surreal moment standing on the stage and being awarded this amazing gift for something that I firstly didn't think that I deserved. I was like, this is beyond crazy. You've got the wrong person. You know, I'm just an ordinary person who likes to help people and who likes to, you know, make sure that people feel comfortable in their skin and comfortable in what they're doing in their work every day. But thank you, you know. And so it was just, I think the quote that got captured after I said it was, the golden hoodie is like a warm hug from the Salesforce ecosystem. That's how I feel about the hoodie. Is just all of the community have reached out and given me a giant hug and said thank you for the stuff that you've done for us. And that's what I thought.
That's really well placed. I think that definitely resonates with a few of us that would have said that. And it was nice that you said that you did it with Mark, because he was actually our previous guest on the podcast. So check out his episode just before of us. But that is amazing. Like, I remember Mark expressing that someone creeped up behind him and he was like, "Oh, what's that?" And there was this golden hoodie. Yeah. And I love that you can't remember much about it because it's just so awe-inspiring.
It really was. It really was. Yeah.
It was just such a big event. And you're so lucky to have it like in person in front of a group of your friends as well up the front.
I know.
And yeah, I guess thank you for making sure that everyone feels good in their skin as well. It's really nice to know that someone's out there being an ally, an advocate. I mean, it's an important aspect of our ecosystem, the fact that everyone's so equal and welcoming. Mm-hmm. But when afterwards you got it presented, has it really kind of changed anything for you personally, professionally, like in the ecosystem?
To be perfectly honest, it changed everything. It really did. It gave me not even a renewed passion, but an increased passion for what I did. It really made me sort of stand up and be proud about the fact that I do give back to the community. I love doing volunteer stuff for the community. I run the Trailhead Tuesdays with Vicky Jeffrey, and I do the user groups and anything that anyone says I need help with this, I'm like, I can help you out, or I can try to do something. And one of my favorite things that I do that I just didn't have the ability to do before people knew who I was people reach out to me on things like LinkedIn and Twitter, and they feel lost or they want some guidance, they don't know who to talk to. And I'm able to, because I know so many people in the ecosystem now, I'm able to say, hey, I know that person in, New York, go and talk to that person because, I've met them and I've caught up with them and I know that they'd be brilliant for you to talk to. Maybe you could go and be mentored by them, those types of things. I've been able to point people in the right direction and say, here's some websites that you might not even known about before. And it's given me the ability to not just help people in my Brisbane community, but in the Australian community and actually internationally as well. And that's something that I wasn't able to do before. And that's professionally, but also at work, it came, I think for me, it's a real mark of respect at work now. Like at my work, people refer to my golden hoodie. They call me Goldie. They're really proud that I've got one. They understand how unique they are to have. And when I first got it, people probably didn't realize that I was quite so active in the Salesforce community at work. And then after that, they started going, oh, okay, you are well known. People, know what you do. People know what we do. And it became a lot more exciting for me to be recognized at work as well.
Yeah, I think that's so nice, but also coming from my perspective, when I first joined the ecosystem, I remember you specifically saying that it helped you kind of embrace that imposter syndrome that kind of came out sometimes, the sense of acknowledgement that, hey, you are on the right track. Is that what I'm kind of hearing? Is that what I remember?
Yeah, you do remember correctly. It's the imposter syndrome, because it gave me that validation that I am. I didn't really consider myself a woman in technology. Even going to women in technology groups for a while, I didn't think that I was really a woman in technology. I thought I was a woman and I worked with a technology, but I wasn't really in technology. And then that getting the Goldie helped me to sort of realize you really are doing this, and you are helping people, and you are helping your organization to grow in the ways that they need to grow. So why are you doubting yourself when you've got other people that can see what you're doing? So, the imposter syndrome, it definitely is lessened these days, but sometimes it still spikes. But I think that probably is natural for a lot of people that in any position, they've got Goldie or not, that sometimes they sit at the table and go, should I really be here?
Do I really know enough to be sitting here?
Yeah.
I know. I think it's more changes in your life that will also bring upon that imposter syndrome, no matter what kind of color hoodie you have wearing. But it is true. And I thank you for those words, because they definitely help me be like, oh, okay, so imposter syndrome is a thing that everyone gets. And it is something that it will come up into everyone's career at some point. So that's important to remember. But you've mentioned that the Trailblazer community, how much you've given back, how much you've been available to mentor or to recommend. On the flip side, though, how important has the Trailblazer community been to you and in your journey? Have you experienced similar things?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got the golden hoodie, I didn't realize how many people already had it. Like, not that there was a big group, but there was a group of people, mostly in the US, who had been given these golden hoodies. They reached out to me to give me care instructions on my hoodie, to say congratulations. And they made me feel like I could go to them and ask them questions as well, because again, as you say, I don't know everything. I barely know anything. When you look at the Salesforce the Salesforce platform or anything like that, I don't think there's a lot of people that know a lot, because it's just so big now. When I first started, yes, it was much smaller and you could understand a lot more, but now it's exploded. But I have reached out and I've established some great friendships with people like Amy Oplinger-Singh, Sandy Zellner, Joy Shutters-Helbing, a lot of people overseas that I didn't even know before, and they're so lovely, and I talk to them and they help me, or they might ground me and tell me something, or give me just some great, be a cheerleader for me for something that I'm doing, and that's personally and professionally now as well. So just those types of things have been really awesome as well. Gemma Blizzard, she, during the lockdown, a bunch of times we just caught up and just chatted on the phone about nothing, on opposite sides of the world. She's an amazing person and so giving and such a wonderful part of our community. So it's those types of people who I've really looked up to, and they've inspired me in my journey.
And it never ends, right? So we give back, and then we gain from other Trailblazers, and we give back, and you just get different snippets as you progress on the journey. Like you were saying, go to architect with Gemma, and we're moving towards different aspects of niches like CPQ I was looking into, and then marketing classes, all these different aspects that we can gain knowledge from other Trailblazers, but yet give back to what we've already learned. And that's really humbling about the ecosystem, that there's nothing that we can't gain or we can't give back. So it's a nice little circle that we create ourselves.
Yeah, no, it really is.
So because you've been, I guess, in a few aspects of the ecosystem and you're able to mentor, what would you say to new Trailblazers entering the ecosystem? What kind of snippets of advice would you give them?
I've been lucky. I've been part of the Salesforce mentoring program on and off for the last couple of years. And pieces of advice that I give to them are join Twitter, really important, because it wasn't until I got my Goldie and people were like, oh, you really should get on Twitter. And then I did, and I went, oh my God, Salesforce is just Twitter. So and that's where you get to meet lots of people as well. So get on Twitter, start talking about things that you like and that you find that you're good at, because if you might find that you love flows and you go, oh my God, these are just my jam. Talk about them, because I've been in the ecosystem for so long, and it was only this last week that I came and watched the Easy Come Easy Flow with Charlotte, and I was like, holy moly, I now understand flows a whole lot better. So there's so many things that people can really get out of the community, and that if you share the things that you love and share the things that you're going to be helping someone. And my aim, and this is something that I've held all along, this is talks that I did even before I knew about Salesforce, was if I can talk about something and just one person gets a tidbit of information out of that helps them to change the way they're doing something for the better, then I've won. Like that, just being influential just for one person in their life somehow, giving that for me is what drives me every day. Is just if I can make someone's life better, then that's a win.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. That's so lovely to hear. And like, it's just so nice to be able to say that I could make an effect in one person's life. And Absolutely. If that is the case, then I've done what I wanted to do and I'm happy with it. That's really lovely. I might use that one going forward. Then all I have to do in this presentation is help one person and then I've done my job.
But that's all it is. If you just think I'm speaking to one person here, if no one else gets this, it doesn't matter. There's one person here that is here because they want to understand the thing that I'm talking about or get that piece of knowledge that they didn't have before the presentation. If you can do that, it's so powerful. And every time I have presented, I have at least one person come up to me afterwards and say, thank you so much, that resonated with me. And that's what makes me do the next presentation or be a mentor to someone else or do this particular thing in a volunteer capacity because, and you would know, you're a volunteer lifesaver. So, you know what it's like to be able to save someone's life. So for me, I look up to you and I go, oh my God, what you do is amazing because you're making a difference in someone's life when you help them. So you already do it every day with what you do. So that's
now you're making me awkward. This is your podcast.
No, but that's the amazing part, right? Is someone will always inspire us with what they do. And so if I can inspire someone and you inspire me, and that's the chain, right?
It is. And I think that's what resonates with a lot of people about our ecosystem is that even if you fall, people will be there to literally push you back up and will send you all the resources you need to make you shine in your own organization. If you don't have the knowledge now, trust me, you will if you just go to Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone will help you on Twitter or the community. You go to the place that you feel comfortable. If it's your community group, like you said, you ask the question in the WIT group. It's amazing and it's very humbling, and that's why we like to be here and that's why we like to give back. Yeah. So on a fun note,
yes,
I do have a fun question for our podcast
Go for it.
guests. If you could be an animal, what type of animal would you be and why?
Well, you did give me this question beforehand, so I have been thinking about this for a couple of days now. I came up with two and I just couldn't decide between which one they were. The first one would be a cat, because the cats are the master of the house. And they also get to just sleep all day, get belly rubs and pats, and they're able to chew someone's arm off when they don't want
Amazing
to.
life.
So I love cats. But I also, my husband and I have just gotten into this habit of when we find panda videos, we send them to each other because pandas are hilarious. They're the most roly-poly, fall out of a tree animals ever. And I just love them and I can't understand how they fall out of a tree and don't get hurt. So I'd say probably a cat, but I absolutely love pandas as well.
They have similarities. They lie around, they go cute,
people
they're
feed
cuddly.
them. Yep.
Yeah, they I like the master of the world of the cats. I secretly bow down to me minions.
Exactly. I've got two cats and everything I do, I'm like, I won't move my feet right now because you look comfortable. So.
And they're like, that's right.
Yeah, they're like, do not move. And I'm like, okay, I will not move. Anyway, so that's what I think I would like to be.
Amazing. No, that's a great answer. I appreciate that. So kind of last, ending off our podcast, I should say, I would like to open up the mic to yourself to kind of throw open a possibility to promote or to raise awareness or whatever you'd like to talk about, maybe something you're working on. So over to you, open mic.
Oh, geez. I was thinking about this as well. Open mic, what have I got to say? The things that I want to promote are really making sure that you go along to your community groups. So support your local community groups, even if it's virtually, if they're holding virtual, because everyone's there volunteering their time. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel guilty about that, but it's really there's a lot of effort involved when you're organising the community group meetings, and it's great just to get that local support and have those people there. So that would be the first thing. I don't know. I just found out this morning I've been nominated for a Queensland Women in Technology Award, which is exciting.
Amazing.
So I wasn't expecting that, but I've been on leave for the past couple of weeks because I had back surgery, and and this morning I thought I'll just go through my work emails so I don't have so many to look at on Monday when I go back. And I got an email that said that I've been nominated by somebody, I don't know who, for a Women in Technology Award for Queensland. So that's great. I was nominated.
Amazing.
I was nominated last year, and I didn't get it, but that's okay. But it just makes you strive for better, obviously. And so I've been nominated again, so which is exciting. So I'd say, probably on the equality and that sort of thing is be an ally for people. There's always someone that may be less advantaged than you in the room, and it's really important to make space for them and to allow them to have their voice at times when it looks like they aren't able to, to find the space to share their voice. I'm really passionate about, obviously, women in technology and making sure that there's, more female representation in the information technology field, and in fact in all STEM. I think there's such an importance that we need to place on getting more young women into technology or engineering, maths, all of those fields. And I don't think we've cracked it yet. I don't think we know quite how to do it as well as we should, but I think that we should never take our eye off the ball and make sure that we are always trying to get more young women in, and to stay the course in technology as well, because just because they start the course doesn't mean they finish the course. So we need to figure out ways to make sure that that women are able to stay the course and are able to get employment opportunities. I strongly believe in female quotas, particularly for leadership. I think that that's really important. I think I struggled with the idea or the concept of quotas to start with, but I thought a lot about it, and I thought, no, it is really important, because unless we start to set quotas, how are we actually going to see women there? Because most often in merit-based employment, even if there is a man and a woman who are the final two candidates, it still slides over to the side of males who get the roles. So unless we start to set quotas, I think it's really important for us to just to keep looking at those types of things. As I said, women in leadership, particularly passionate about that. I'm a female senior leader in my organisation, and we've actually set quotas for female leadership in our particular organisation, because we've placed such a priority on that. So gender diversity is very important, and also I'm a member of my Q-Pride committee, which is the Queensland Investment Corporation's internal Pride network, and that's something I'm extremely passionate about. I'm, LGBTI plus people being their allies, making sure that they are represented and that they have a voice in all conversations is extremely important. I've got a lot of friends that are in the LGBTI community, and I've heard so many stories about how they are. How they have challenges and struggles that we don't even understand as cisgendered people. So it's really important to make sure that they've got a voice at all times as well. So that is so true. Yeah, those are some of the things that I'm extremely passionate about. I could probably talk forever about those sorts of things, but yeah, those are things that I really want to make sure the community knows that I'm passionate about. I'm not, I look at the community and I think I'm not the most technologically minded person. I can't, potentially tell you how to solve a flow problem or, set up, security or those types of things on as much as I would like to. But I think where I am really strong in the community is my passion for equality, diversity, inclusion, equity, those types of things. Those are the absolute things that I stand for and will always stand for. And I will never accept less. I will always challenge. So, that's what I want to be known for. Good.
That's awesome. And that's really amazing to see someone stand up for that and say that it is okay to say these things on a public space, and it is okay to stand for what you believe, because I think that's really important, to not be afraid to stand up for what you believe, even though there might be those controversial things where they say they're like career challenging sentences.
Yep.
But I think that's well over and done with. Like, these things need to be talked about.
I agree. And a couple of years ago when I started to, I guess, challenge the status quo, I would call out on LinkedIn. I was like, oh my God, you know, I called out the, I think it was a national marketing person at Microsoft on a conference that they were doing. And I looked at the entire schedule of all of the speakers, and there was about 2 women and a plethora of men. And I have absolutely no problem with men. I love my husband, but it wasn't good enough. And so I called them out on the LinkedIn page, and I said, this isn't good enough. And they replied to me in email and said, you're right, this isn't good enough. We need to do better. And from that really bold move that I did, I've called Salesforce out on it early on. I know there's a couple of people who might listen to this who will know that I've called them out on some of the speakers in panels that they've had, not having enough diversity in those panels. And I think it's important to call it out. And once you've done it once, you get a little bit stronger to say it again. And then all of a sudden you go, I'm just calling people out everywhere for it. And then I think, is this a career limiting move? But it doesn't seem to have impacted me in the past couple of years. So I would say, even if your voice shakes, still do it. Okay, because it's really important to say that stuff. And if someone looks at you and says that that's a career limiting move, you should never have done that, then maybe it's not the right place for you to be anyway. So, you need to work with an organization that your values align with, who shares your passion for the things that are important in life as well. And I think that I'm in an organization that definitely does that, but I also am in a place in my life where I think that that's what people know me for as well, is that I'm not afraid to say the things that might need to be said. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we understand not everyone is at that point of their career or their lives, and that's absolutely okay. People will find their voice whenever that is ready, or will they'll be able to stand up in a position when they are ready. And it's not only about the organization kind of backing you, it's just being in an organization that allows you to have that voice.
Yeah.
They don't have to like cry from the rooftops, but it's just giving you that ability to say those things without reprimand or without negativity around it. So it's always good to know that it's somewhere out there, and you'll find it at some point. But thank you for being so passionate about being an ally and sharing it all. I really am thankful for it. And you've taught me things over the years where I've then stood up and said, no, that's not right. So we need you in the community, and we thank you for being there. Thank you for being on my podcast.
That's okay.
The Life with Goldie podcast. I hope you had fun today. And I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, Bec. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. And I really appreciate you letting me share my story.